What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to take you guys through my ultimate guide to your chip strategy. So we are approaching the business end to this season, which I absolutely love. In the prior Premier League seasons, I've always managed to clutch up and increase my rank dramatically. And that's what I want to say to you guys in this video is a good chip strategy and the correct decision making in the second half of the season can really improve your rank and get you guys to those rank targets. So if there was one word to describe the second half of the Premier League or FPL season, it would be clutch, just because you guys know we can improve the rank quite dramatically. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you guys through some more holistic approaches to your chip strategy, just so that I can help you guys make those decisions, because I've seen multiple comments over on Twitter and on YouTube, people asking me what I would do if I had a triple captain and a bench boost only, if I had every single chip left in the game. So I can't really reply to everyone, so I decided to make this video a little bit more general so that you guys can relate it to whatever your scenario is. The chip strategy is always quite situational, as most chips are, but I do think this video is going to be quite informative, even if it might be slightly longer. So if you guys are still interested, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So the first talking point we're going to be going over is yet again talking about Mikel Tokvam. Shout out to him. He runs an account over on Twitter and also Patreon called The Transfer Algorithm. And to be honest, probably my favorite new account over on Twitter since he's been releasing these visualizations. So make sure you guys go check out Mikel, as you'll be seeing him through the majority of this video. A little bit of a spoiler alert there, but I just think his visualizations of the doubles and the blank schedule is quite useful and really nice for videos. So I use Mikel's work in combination with Ben Crellin, but I just think the more holistic approach to every single game week, deciding if it's a blank or a double, and his images that you see on screen are more helpful, and as I said, a little bit more holistic in terms of information. So now that we've gone over the shout out to Mikel, make sure you guys go check him out. Let's talk about this image that you guys see on screen right now. If you guys have watched the video, you can maybe skip forward 30 seconds or a minute or so. I'm just going to go about explaining what this image actually means. But basically what Mikel's done here is that he's taken the game week 27 to game week 38 game week schedule, and he's put a number or value to predict whether it's going to be a double, a single, or a blank. So a single game week is represented by 1.00, and that's basically a confirmed single game week. For example, game week 27, Everton only have a single game week. That's why they are represented by 1.00. Anything more than that, up till 2.00, 2.00 is going to be a confirmed double game week, as with Burnley in 27 and some other teams in 28, 29. If the value is between 1 and 2, it's going to be a prediction, and the higher the number, the bigger the chance of a double game week. We then go to the opposite end of the spectrum, where we have our 1 to 0. If it's a 0.00 or denoted by a dash, that means it's a confirmed blank game week, as with Arsenal in 27. And anything in between that, the lower the number, the bigger the chance of a blank. Then on the right side of the screen is going to be a summation of all the numbers, which is basically going to represent the amount of games a team has from now to the end of the season. Burnley have 15 games from now to the end of the season, and then West Ham right at the bottom only have 12. But don't really worry too much about the numbers, just whether it's going to be a predicted double or a blank for the upcoming game weeks. So now that I've kind of explained the image, what I'm going to be going through is every single game week from 27 to 38, and just talking about a little bit of a representation of what these game weeks actually mean. Now the reason I want to do this is that I think, as with my wildcard drafts, my free hit drafts, a little bit of context and background is always super valuable, just so that you know everything about the game weeks before you create a solution, which will be your chip strategy. So let's start off with game week 27. On the horizon, the upcoming game week, it's going to be a blank / a double game week. A double game week only for Burnley, but then a blank game week for some teams such as Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. And as you guys know, the majority of managers, or at least in the FPL community, are using their first free hit or their second free hit because they want to take advantage of some nice fixtures for Man City and other teams. So very small double / blank game week, but you guys know enough about 27, so I'm not going to go too in depth into that. Now let's go on to game week 28, which is going to be a double game week. We've got some nice doubles here for Watford, Leeds, Aston Villa, Newcastle. Might not be the best kind of teams, but the double game weeks do look quite strong. I think the one team that we'll be focusing on though will be those Wolves assets, as they have a really nice double in game week 28. So double game week 28, double game week 29, the second game week also another double game week. But now we have some better teams. We've got Spurs, Arsenal, and Liverpool. I'm pretty sure most of us will kind of target that. But the one thing that's quite interesting to note is that we do have kind of a correlation between some teams doubling. There is a rumor that Arsenal might have a double game week against Chelsea, but it's also been rumored, according to Ben Crellin, that that might actually be Chelsea versus Norwich, which will be an insane double going into game week 28. So if Arsenal do double, we could have a potential Newcastle and Arsenal back-to-back double. And if you guys want to use a free hit or a wild card, that will be something to take note of. But now going on to the massive blank game week of this kind of 2021/2022 season, that's going to be blank game week 30 due to the next round of FA Cup fixtures. So as you guys can see on screen there, a majority of red fixtures, only 8.65 predicted fixtures for game week 30, and that's why it's going to be a massive blank. But we do still have some teams here that have fixtures, and the one thing I want to point out is there is a correlation between double game week players in 28 and 29 and blank game week players in blank game week 30. So what this kind of opens up is free transfers or hits in game week 28-29 just because you're getting a double game week player, but then also getting a blank game week 30 player. So the next selection of games is going to be a little bit of a cheat method. I'm going to highlight 31 and 32 together just because there are a few doubles that could potentially take place, but not too many. The numbers aren't too high there, and the highest number I think is about 1.2, which is a little bit of a low predicted double game week for maybe a Burnley. So not too much expectation there, kind of a break from these doubles and these blanks in game week 31 and 32, but then we jump straight back into it in double game week / blank game week 33. So this could potentially be a little bit of a medium blank just because this correlates with the next round of the FA Cup. So if teams do progress in their fixture in game week 30, in game week 33 they will also have a blank game week, and that's why you see there's a correlation between the teams that blank in 30 and also 33. But you can also see that there's actually quite a few double game weeks that could potentially happen along with the blanks. So that's why I think game week 33 could be a very interesting one, similar to a game week 27, but a little bit more intense just because of more doubles and more blanks. And that's why I think it could be the perfect kind of time to use a free hit to navigate it. Then once again, game week 34, 35, similar to 31 and 32, back to normality before a massive double game week potentially in 36 and 37. So let's talk about the game week 36 double first because that's the more predicted kind of double game week, the bigger double game week on paper, according to Ben Krellin. And what this game week is going to basically be is if a team blanks in game week 30, like the majority of teams do, this is going to be when they catch up that fixture. Obviously, there might be some changes in that. Game week 31 to 35 could see some double game weeks placed in there, but the general expectation is that game week 36 is going to be a big double game week. So you guys can see on screen there, 30.96 games are projected for double game week 36, which is nothing to shy away from, and definitely could be a massive chip advantage in that specific game week. Then moving on to game week 37, which like game week 36 could also be a double game week, but what I kind of want to highlight here is that not all teams will necessarily double in both 36 and 37. Now what I want to go over is United because they give quite a nice representation of this. So if we do look at Manchester United, they have 12 fixtures from now to the end of the season. So what that kind of means is that they will theoretically have one game per game week if blanks or doubles didn't happen. But what happens in game week 30? A 0.07 chance of a blank game week, which is really kind of high, and that's why it's basically a confirmed blank on their point of view. So that'll mean that they have one game to catch up. So now I'll take your eyes to game week 36 and 37, where they have a 1.62 chance and a 1.32 chance. So what this kind of tells you is that they're not going to double in both game weeks, but if you do accumulate those two scores, it evens out the blanks that they have before that. So what Mikel's trying to tell you here is that the chance of them doubling or catching up that one fixture is more likely in 36 than 37, but it could potentially happen in either one. So that's what I kind of wanted to show you guys, is that although the percentage is above 1 for game week 36 and 37, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will double in both, but yes, it might mean for some teams. So 37 could also be a nice little double game week, and that could be a nice little wildcard time for you guys before 36 to get the bench boost and potentially a triple captain if you haven't used it yet. But then finally, game week 38 to round off the season will definitely be a single game week, and that's just because every team plays at the exact same time, so you guys don't have to worry about 38 in terms of your chip strategy. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this kind of overview, more of a holistic approach to the game weeks, and it's going to give us a little bit of background and context when we do talk about our chip strategy. So now quickly, before we go on to the more general chip strategy usage, I'm going to talk about my own chip strategy, and if you guys do know, I used my wildcard in game week 36. So Mo Salah against Leeds in 2 days time or 1 day's time is going to give us quite a good indication if that was a success or a fail, but I'm willing to give it 1 or 2 more game weeks just because I did set my wildcard team up quite nicely for double game week 28 and double game week 29. So the current plan of thinking is to bench boost in game week 28. I'm really hoping that Arsenal do get the double against Chelsea because that'll equal about 6 more points on my bench theoretically, and that'll always be a good thing on a bench boost. But now we kind of get into the dilemma of my 2 other chips. So sorry, I forgot to tell you that I've actually used my first free hit in about game week 19. It was used in the first half of the season, and that's why unfortunately I only have 1 left. So the triple captain could potentially be used on a Mo Salah in game week 29. He has a Brighton and Arsenal away. Not the best kind of double, definitely not as good as Norwich and Leeds at home, but that could potentially be a nice week to still captain the Egyptian. But my triple captain could also be used in game week 36. We just saw it's going to be a massive double game week potentially, and that's why surely I can find a good option to use my triple captaincy on. Now in terms of my second free hit, I won't be using it in game week 27, or at least that's the current strategy. I can manage to get about 10 players with a free transfer and get a full starting 11 with a -4, but I think I might just stick with 10 players and keep my free hit in my back pocket. So the second free hit could be used in a game week 33. That looks like quite a nice week to use it in, but I could also use it in game week 36 to get the best double game week team as possible. So in terms of my own chip strategy, sorry that it's not very set in stone, but I just think this season there's been so many surprises that I'm willing to keep some chips in my back pocket, and I'm willing to play some in the next couple game weeks. So now going on to the specific chip usage, and I'm going to start off with the triple captaincy. So in terms of the triple captain, if you guys haven't used it in game week 26 on Mo Salah, there are a few other opportunities that could be presented to you with some nice options. So let's talk about those specific game weeks. I think the first selection is going to be 28 or 29. I think any kind of double game week is going to be advantageous for the triple captain, and that's why if you guys aren't going to be using a chip in 28 or 29, you could definitely consider, as I mentioned, a Mo Salah against Brighton and Arsenal in double game week 29. But then also we have these later doubles coming up, a game week 36, 37, where we do have some nice options in terms of maybe a Man City defender or Man City attacker. We also have some Chelsea options with doubles that could potentially come up. So I think either of these two selections or kind of 4 game weeks should be quite good to use your triple captain. I think what it's going to come down to is the triple captain for me is the chip you use when you can't use any other chip. So if you've used your wild card, your free hits, or your bench boost, whatever double game week you have left, that's probably where you'll use this chip. But now going on to the free hit chip, which is always going to be a situational chip, and I think this might be a little bit of a tough one to kind of predict, but I think in terms of 2 free hits being used, I think you definitely have to use one in a game week 27, as long as your team isn't looking that strong. So I've had a lot of comments in my Twitter DMs and on YouTube, people showing me their teams and asking me, should they free hit? And I generally think if you do have 2 free hits left, I would probably use one in game week 27. But then go on to other game weeks that you could potentially use it. I think with the 2 free hit strategy, or the template one, is going to be 27 and 33, just so that you can take advantage of the doubles and the blanks within those game weeks. I think 36 and 37, as those of you who are a little bit more maverick, if you already used your triple captain, your bench boost, then I would consider maybe using it in 36 or 37, just so that you can get the best double game week team as possible. But as I said, the template is going to be 27 and 33, and if you guys have used every chip, then you can consider 36 and 37. If you like me and only have 1 free hit left, I would consider 27 as well. Just make sure that your team isn't looking too strong. If it's looking quite bad, I would activate the free hit and then just navigate 33 with those free transfers. As you guys can see, less blanks to deal with, so you guys should be fine. But now we get on to the most difficult chip for me to kind of predict, because it's really such a situational one. My personal strategy and where my bias lies was using it in game week 26, just because I think it sets you up quite nicely for a bench boost in 28, 29, game week 30, and then after that the teams you've wildcarded in have relatively fine fixtures. So I guess the second best strategy then is to wildcard in game week 28, but if you want to use the bench boost in 29, that might become a little bit more of a sticky situation, just because I don't think the bench boost then is that great. Why I'm kind of saying this is that in game week 28, if you're going to wildcard, your bench will be full of double game week 29 options, just because that makes sense to take advantage of both these double game weeks. And then the players in double game week 28 don't have the best fixtures in 29, so you can understand where the dilemma kind of comes in. But that is still a fine strategy to go for. If you guys maybe don't have a bench boost left or a triple captain left, then you can always maybe stack that. But I think the other optimal strategy is to wildcard anywhere between 31 and 35. I think if you have a free hit in game week 33, that's a perfectly fine scenario to do it in 31. But if you don't, you can maybe dead end your team into blank game week 33 and then wildcard in game week 34. Now the reason I'm saying game week 31 to 35 is that if you guys cast your eyes to blank game week 30, as I mentioned, the teams that win there will blank in game week 33 and vice versa. So by game week 31, we will know who's going to double game week and who's going to have a blank game week in 33 and 36 or 37, and then you can kind of prepare for that because you've gained that knowledge of those FA Cup fixtures. But as I mentioned, the wildcard is super tough to kind of predict, as it's such a situational chip. But what I will say is that you guys have to look at the game weeks you'll get the most advantage out of. For example, for my own team, I knew that I'd get advantage out of double game week 28 and 29, also having a blank game week 30 team. So for me, that was worth using the wildcard. What I also want to point out is that in Game Week 28 and 29, we have confirmed doubles, when Game Week 36 and 37, both of those won't be double game weeks for every team, and therefore you might want to activate it earlier to take advantage of the more nailed doubles. But now that we've kind of gone over the tough chip to predict, the next one's going to be the bench boost, which is kind of an easier chip to predict because, as you guys know with myself, you wildcard and then you bench boost. For example, my own team, wildcarding in Game Week 26, bench boosting Game Week 28. I love that kind of combination, and that's why wherever you guys do wildcard, that's when you should bench boost. I personally do think the double Game Week 36 bench boost will be more valuable than maybe Game Week 29 bench boost, and that's why if you guys can get a fine team in 28 and 29 and 30, I will consider wildcarding a little bit later on in the season so that you can take advantage of these later doubles. But yes, you can always bench boost in a single game week, but myself, I always love doing it in a double just because I think there's more value there. But every chip strategy can be different, and a single game week can actually yield you quite a few points. So to kind of wrap up this video and talk about the more template chip strategy that I would kind of go for, if you guys have used your triple captaincy, which I think most of the people will, just because in terms of my own strategy, if you guys wildcarded, you're perfectly fine for the rest of the season or at least the next couple of game weeks. But if you have used your triple captain in 26, I think this strategy is going to be the one to go for. The first one's going to be to free it in Game Week 27 if you do have both free hits. If you only have one, you can choose between 27 and 33, but if you do have both, I would go with 27 and 33. Then I would activate my wildcard in Game Week 31 to 34, and I would just take some hits and some free transfers between 28, 29, and 30 to get a respectable team. If you guys do remember what I said, is that Game Week 30's blank players do have doubles in 28 and 29, and therefore you can just use those free transfers and those hits to get a fine team over the next 3 game weeks. Then what I would do is, since you've wildcarded in 31 to 34, wherever you guys do please, I think 36 and 37 are the prime time to use your bench boost to get the most out of those double game weeks. So the only variation that you guys could do is wildcarding in Game Week 28 in my opinion, and therefore I think you just change the bench boost to maybe 29, or you could always bench boost later on this season, but I always do prefer the bench boost plus the wildcard combination. I think what I would do is go over to FPL.team. As you guys know, we always use that website now for planning, and I would look at your team for blank Game Week 30, double Game Week 28 and 29, and just see that your options are fine with your free transfer and hit plan. If they're not, then just wildcard. I think that will negate the hits and also allow you to prepare for the short term. Might not be the best value from a long-term perspective, but at least you are focusing on what's in front of us. Let me know in the comments down below what your chip strategy is going to be. As I mentioned in the introduction, if you guys comment whatever chips you have left, I'll try help you. I might not be able to get to everyone, but at least then they'll give me a little bit more context about what your current situation is going to be. But this is wrap the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did, and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys for the team selection tomorrow, and then an ultimate guide / free draft for those of you using the chip. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.